rey, y Blulaina no ley, recuerdo el pozo que había, recuerdo el pozo que había, en la finca de café, ayer por allí pasé, quería saber si existía, y para tristeza mía, noté en aquel sitial, pozo que era natural, y agua ya se había secado y me di cuenta que a su lado ya no está el camino real. Me di cuenta que a su lado, no diga usted que no, ya no está el camino real.
Que está ahí atrás. Yolanda, te saludo a la gente. Entonces, en algunos minutos vamos a comenzar. Tenemos una presentación lista para hablar acerca de Ramonita, Negron Rivera y su legado. I want to welcome everyone here to our tertulia. Don't expect a literal translation because my brain just can't handle it. I could spout off in one, spout off in the other. You get more or less the same thought. Let's put it that way. But I'm not a simultaneous interpreter, like even of myself. So I'm the co-founder and president of a group called Raíces Culturales Latinoamericanas, or Latin American Cultural Roots. We're very happy to renew a series that we used to have back, I'm going to say starting around 2005 or so, when Raíces had a building at 5th and Somerset. It actually started as kind of an outgrowth of something that started here by Gilberto Gonzalez that was called Noche de Arte en el Barrio. Entonces, más o menos surgió de la idea de tener una noche de arte y también tener una tertulia. Entonces, una persona que está en el Perú, Mónica Rodrigo, fue una de las personas impulsoras de esa idea. Ella quería tener una cosa, vamos a decir, organizada latinoamericana en una cantidad de temas. Entonces, cuando Raíces cambió de liderazgo en el año 2015, nosotros nos tocó como volver a intentar la organización, pues sin oficina, pero también haciendo nuestros programas. Entonces, yo sé que la gente ha extrañado las tertulias, entonces nosotros siempre hemos tenido ganas de volverlos a hacer. Just wanted to mention that the whole idea of a tertulia started roughly as an outgrowth of an event called Noche de Arte en el Barrio, like Arts Night in the Barrio. And along with that, our longtime colleague who now lives in Lima, Peru, Mónica Rodrigo, had the idea of having a monthly tertulia. So it was basically her vision and the help of a lot of people. Obviously, for us to have the tertulias at our old Raíces offices where the murals are at 5th and Somerset. So fast forward to the future, Raíces changed leadership in 2015. The Sutton Grayer co-founders retook the organization in 2016, and we operate out of our houses the way we did in the beginning. That's why we call our journey rediscovering our roots, because that's what we had to do. A lot of people have missed the tertulias, and so we really wanted to bring them back. Entonces, el tema que tenemos este año es también el lema de Raíces, de honrando nuestro pasado y visualizando nuestro futuro. Entonces, la idea es, pues claro que Raíces ya lleva más de 30 años de existencia, Y en todos esos años hemos colaborado con mucho éxito con el taller puertorriqueño, a quien agradecemos por habernos dado este espacio. So, the Tertulias were born of a vision also from the very beginning of Raíces. We started in 1991, and we always wanted to do what our motto says that we want to do, to honor our past and to visualize our future. Because when somebody tries to do a new event, let's say, I was often struck as to how I recall that the same concept was started a generation ago, and maybe the memory may have been forgotten a little bit, in terms of where we came from. I'm kind of a student of history. So I've always been interested, and the organization with us, in trying to capture that history, but not necessarily just like, for example, with records and documents and things. We really want to make it come alive. We want to remember people who have helped us, who have brought the community along. So, entonces nuestra idea es de tratar de volver a descubrir nuestras raíces, pero las raíces existen también en cuanto a la historia de la comunidad, historia de las personas que llegaron aquí, formaron sus grupos, sus negocios, sus agencias, y entonces hacer que nuestra comunidad sea vibrante. Entonces así es, y siempre lo he encontrado. So I think now that we're getting going, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the PowerPoint that I developed, just some information like based on Ramonita's life, and you'll just have to excuse me, I guess, while I kind of go back and forth with changing the slides. I hate asking people to do this for me because you have to say next slide, next slide, next slide. Entonces para poder seguir adelante, entonces yo tengo también, como las tertulias siempre son bilingües, entonces tenemos también una presentación no muy larga, pero sí bilingüe, acerca del legado de Ramonita. Y después vamos a tener a Domingo Negron, el hermano de Ramonita, que fundó el taller puertorriqueño junto con ella como la jefa de la junta directiva. Y Domingo fue el primer director ejecutivo del taller. Entonces ya estamos hablando de una idea que empezó en 1974. Entonces ya casi 50 años y todavía algunos de nosotros estamos aquí parados, afortunadamente. Entonces tratando de seguir la tradición, la historia de la comunidad, y también pasando a la gente joven, que ahora ellos tienen más energía que nosotros, pero además ellos van a tener su propia visión de cómo ellos quieren hacer las cosas. So I'll go right into the presentation, and we always remember that we want to remember individuals who came before us, and had their time here, did a lot of things for the community, including Domingo Negron, Ramonita's brother, and Ramona Marullo, Ramonita's daughter, and there are other family members here. So we want to remember them, and we're very happy that you were able to come. Nacheli, ¿tú tienes un minuto para dar la bienvenida?
Thank you.
Nuestra actual directora ejecutiva del taller.
Hola, muy buenas noches. Gracias por estar aquí. Para mí es un honor conocer, estudiar y honrar la historia de taller. Yo creo que es importante saber nuestro pasado para saber dónde vamos. Así que en el Día Internacional de la Mujer, que es un recordatorio de todo lo que hemos luchado y de todo el camino que nos falta por recorrer, creo que es importante mirar a estas ancestras que han caminado el camino por nosotros y que gracias a ellas podemos estar aquí. Thank you everybody for being here. I think it's very important to acknowledge our past, our ancestors, and more today in the International Women's Day, that I think is very important, and that this is not a celebration. This is a reminder of all this, of the path that we have come, but all the long run that we still have to get equal pay, equal rights, equal voices. And I think that it has been an excellent example of being a platform for all the voices that haven't been heard. So welcome to Taller. I look forward to seeing you in other activities. De verdad, gracias por estar aquí, gracias por confiar en la nueva era de Taller puertorriqueño y espero que represente a la comunidad. Para mí eso es lo más importante. Un edificio vacío no es importante para mí. Lo importante es que esté lleno de nosotras y nosotros. Gracias.
Gracias, Michelle. So let's get started with the presentation. So you'll see that I'm bouncing back and forth between English and Spanish. So I'll talk a little bit also before I really get going about how I met Ramonita. Okay, I met her. There was a Hispanic festival at Penn's Landing. Penn's Landing back in 1983 did not look anywhere near what it looks now. It was just like one stage, and people just kind of stood around. Pat Negron remembers very well. I was actually kind of putting feelers out in the community. Then I had spent a year in Bogota, Colombia studying, and I wanted to kind of keep in touch with the community. There was a presentation. I met Ramonita there at the event. They had a little kids group called Conjunto Folclórico Coquí, right? And so, you know, some of the people were.
Some members are here.
If some members are here, well, that's good. I'm glad. You don't have to dance.
Yes.
You've already paid your dues, so don't worry.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, so in any case, like one of the first things that I got involved with Ramonita was I had DJ equipment, so I would play at parties, and Ramonita helped me get a lot of jobs, like you know, the bilingual DJ kind of thing. So you know, playing Puerto Santa Rosa and you know, I think Gran Combo de Puerto Rico and all those other great names from the past with Fidel Vargas. So what I want to talk about also is that essentially all the time that I was involved in the community, Ramonita was always a part of my getting further involved, always, because the door was always open. She always found a way of you know, including me. And I know, you know, this is something I did not take for granted because not every individual is welcoming, let's say, to a person from the outside wanting to learn, you know, like what this, you know, what is Zando doing? What does he want to, you know? So, but then the DJ thing started, and also through Ramonita, I met a number of groups from other countries who had social organizations, and they wanted to do folklore, they wanted to do dance, and I didn't realize how many groups were really represented. So, you know, there were Colombians, there were Peruvians, Argentinians, and the community kept growing and growing, okay? And so I had an idea of starting an organization, and a woman suggested to me, what you should do is you should start a cultural concilio. That was the words that she used, so that was the idea that she gave me. So then when I wanted to start, I approached Ramonita, and then she opened the concilio boardroom to me, March 27th, 1991, where we had our first meeting. There were 4 of us here, there at the concilio, and you know, eventually, at the very next meeting was at Yolanda Alcorta's house. So that's where we, essentially got started. And one of the things that Ramonita did that was really helpful was that the groups that we approached that we wanted to perform, like we knew that we were going to have an event way in the future in 1992, and you know, then they told me, need something a lot closer than that. So what Ramonita did was she slotted us, I think it was like 3 hours on Saturday and 3 hours on Sunday of the Hispanic Fiesta at Penn's Landing. And so we had like 10 groups. And then from that point, with those 2 performances, then Raíces was off and running, because then we also got requests to go to schools and then other places as well. And then our collaboration with Ramonita continued, year after year until her, unfortunate passing. Entonces, hay alguien que no me entendió lo que estaba diciendo, pues, porque yo hablé bastante en inglés. Pues voy a decir por lo menos algunas cosas para no repetir más. Esencialmente, lo que Ramonita fue para mí fue mi entrada en la comunidad, como la persona que tenía más influencia, más conexiones y más una idea de lo que quería hacer. Como la gente que la conoce sabe, ella siempre prestó una mano a cualquier persona que tenía una idea. Ella siempre encontraba la manera de hacer las cosas. Entonces ella es sumamente apropiada como para el Día Internacional de la Mujer, porque ella ha sido una persona con muchísima energía, con muchísimas ideas, y seguramente cualquier de nosotros que la conoció solo conoció una parte pequeña de lo que ella hacía, porque ella estaba incluida en muchísimas actividades que no tenían nada que ver con Raíces, por ejemplo. Con el desfile puertorriqueño, con actividades en el concilio, con la Legión Americana, una cantidad. So, I'm not going to read the slides off, but I'm just going to present them. Sorry if it looks a little small. Okay, so, whoops, I think I lost power here. Hello? Turn this off accidentally. Okay, here we go. Can you hear me? Okay. Well, my voice is loud anyway, so I'm going to continue on. So, okay. Now, how many of you have actually visited Ramonita's birthplace in Managua? Okay, so a number of people know it. I don't know that part of Puerto Rico. I counted, I think, 24 municipios out of the 78 that I visited.
Wow.
Okay, but the closest I got was the Wyeth Plain in Guyana, which I think is not far from Managua, in that southeastern corner of Puerto Rico. Okay, so you see from the history that she came to the family in 1960. She promptly went to high school, thank you. And then she graduated from Catholic High School in Hallahan in 1963. Do I use it again? Okay, all right. I'm going to try to talk into it a little bit better. Okay, so see from this presentation that she also worked with the American Legion, and then she got involved in the Concilio, long name being the Council of Spanish-Speaking Organizations, which actually started in 1962, and so got involved in the Puerto Rican Parade, and then a few years later, Domingo was part of the start of the Taller Puertorriqueño. And the person who told me about Domingo and Ramonita's involvement in the Taller was Johnny Rizarri. So I had asked him, I was talking to him years ago, and he just said casually, well, you know that Ramonita was behind the starting of the Taller. And I had no idea. So this was an idea, the whole Taller was an idea that would not have been born if it weren't for Ramonita and Domingo. So, and then she was also involved in the Puerto Rican Week Festival. So there's a lot more than just what I'm talking about. So, bueno, entonces aquí están los mismos datos en español. Entonces ella fue una persona que nació en la isla, vino aquí y poco después de llegar aquí hizo su impacto en la comunidad y estuvo involucrada en una cantidad diversa de eventos y actividades. Entonces ella también sintió una misión especial con los jóvenes. Entonces muchas de sus iniciativas tenían que ver con apoyar a los jóvenes, darles la educación que necesitaban, y entonces asegurar que podían tener un futuro exitoso. Entonces, ella realmente abrió los caminos para mucha gente. So, I actually got a little bit involved with Televisual, which was part of the business of Negron Enterprises. I wanted to get involved in some way in the community a little bit more. This was in 1985, and so I did like a little corner of Televisual magazine where I put a list of events. So that was kind of like my entry into into the community cultural activities. The other thing was that she also suggested that I call Diego Castellanos, and he put me on the show, Puerto Rican Panorama in 1985, first time. I was very nervous, but somehow I got through it. But my sister-in-law told me, well, there was something funny you said at that program. You said you were currently married to a Colombian. Does that mean you're going to leave her in a few years or what? That's what I said. I said I was currently married to a Colombian. Fortunately, I'm still married to that Colombian, now 38 years later. So, the other initiative that she was involved in also was the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of Philadelphia, which started, I believe, in 1990. There are a number of community leaders that started that, and as far as I know, it's still going. And now 33 years later. And I had already mentioned a little bit about how she helped raise in our early years. She'd come occasionally to our meetings as well, in those times. And like our involvement with Ramonita continued all the way up to the time that she got sick. So I think that one of the directors of our dance group, of our Colombian dance group, actually saw her at Gran the same day, I think. And I think the woman noticed that there was something off with Ramonita, and Ramonita said, nah, don't worry about it, And then I think shortly afterward, she was in a hospital, and so I think that was a shock to all of us, because this is a person you could not imagine like ever stopping. She had just so much energy, and that's one of the things that we really appreciate about her legacy. She always had a different idea, and she always tried to execute those ideas. She was very good at forming alliances with people. She was not rencorosa, not resentful at all. She was the kind of person you could always approach. And it's not just me saying it. I mean, many people are going to be able to say the same thing. Entonces aquí está la misma información. Entonces yo ya compartí el hecho de que yo comencé con una pequeña sección de la revista televisual que Negron Enterprises publicó. Entonces también ella fue una gran ayuda para Raíces en nuestros primeros años, siempre abriendo las puertas del concilio para que nosotros nos pudiéramos reunir y a veces hacer nuestros bailes y actividades allá en el espacio comunal del concilio. This is one of the things that I want to emphasize. So essentially, the building right across the street is named after her. The Rivera building is part of the school district. Okay? So I have a feeling that many people who came after Ramonita have been inside that building, had no idea of who she was, what she did, and why the building was named after her. And then also on 5th and Allegheny, they're actually revamping the recreation center that's also named after her. I looked on the Google Maps, where you can look at the pictures, and you saw a very tiny sign that said Ramonita Rivera Recreation Center. I'm thinking to myself, this woman had so much impact in the community, and then her legacy is reduced to a tiny little sign, right? It's just not right. Entonces, para volver a mencionar, pues, el centro de recreo que está en la 5 y Allegheny tiene su nombre. igual, el edificio que está frente a Taller Puertorriqueño se llama The Rivera Building en su honor. Entonces, lo que quería mencionar es que ella era mucho más que solamente dos edificios. O sea, muchas veces vamos a decir que una persona ha vivido no sé cuántos años y entonces si fallece y después tú ves un aviso en la televisión, a veces el aviso dura alrededor de 15 segundos. Entonces, pero las personas que conocen el impacto de esa gente sabe que su vida realmente no se puede reducir a 15 segundos. Entonces, lo que quiero hacer ahora es pasar el micrófono a Domingo Negron, hermano de Ramonita, para que hable acerca del legado de su hermana y cómo pues lo que ella empezó sigue. So I'm going to hand over the mic to Domingo Negron, Ramonita's brother, and we'll also hear from Dale Marullo, or Ramona Marullo, who will talk a little bit about her mother.
Well said. Sin micrófono, ¿se oye? No. I'm not going to repeat what was said. It was brilliant. It was great. I do want to relate my own story with Director Ramona. We did a lot, and anyway, it starts at when we moved to North Philly from South Philly. Ramona went to Holland, as already said, but she graduated from Holland, went to work at Temple. I happened to do something different. I went into the Marine Corps, which was probably a bad idea, but somehow it worked out. Anyway, the point was my direct connection with Ramona was when I came back from Vietnam. And she said, she sort of picked me up. Anyway, what she did was, I was in the Naval Hospital, and she actually picked me up, probably to North Philly, and we talked about what I was going to do after I came back from Vietnam. And obviously, at the time, I was wounded from many ways, and she was very key in saying, you do what you want to do. And at that point, art school was for me. So I still miss her. And my problem with this, I still can't. I can't get over the fact that she died so young. And I think, for this community, it's probably the same. But she did a good lot. After art school, I started looking around, so she brought me into Concilio and other organizations that she was working with. And the idea of Taller started at, in that case, was putting workshop, started at Spira. It was a basement sort of thing. Some kids got together from college, and Rick Hall and myself sort of to aim to make that into somewhat what it is now, what it will be tomorrow. And so she was there with original idea, the original guidance for Taller. From there was a spin-off from Aspira, because they didn't want much to do with people who are young and sort of radicals, as we were called the radicals at that time, which made sense because we were trying to make things happen with the youth and with the college students and high school and so on. So the Taller idea came to life, and we moved from Aspira to a building that I had on 5th Street, 5th and Louisville. And the Taller was born. The Taller Puerto Riqueño Incorporated was born. And not to forget that Rick Hall, who was another one from around here, had a heck of a lot to do with this organization at that time. And it was also under the guidance of Ramona, who was the first president, as it was said. Other than that, after Taller, we started running enterprises with Felix, myself, and Ramona. And what we wanted to do is have graphic cards representation of the growing Puerto Rican community and the Hispanic community in Philadelphia. And I think we achieved that, and we're still running. And it's good to see this many people here, and some of the people that I met 40 years ago. That's really amazing. So, at that point, thank you to my family here, and everybody that came, and the baby, Maxine.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ramona, also. I guess I can start at the beginning. Taller has been in my life, most of my life. I remember running up and down the steps at the first building with my cousins and just rampaging the place, I guess. But it's always been in our blood. Went Concilio, my teens, went around Concilio too. And I've always been there helping her. She's always shown me how it's important to help in the community. It's important to be strong woman, especially today on the International Women's Day. This just fell on a perfect day. Sorry. So I guess, like I've said, my life has been with all of these events that she's been through. I was always at the banquets. I helped her with the parade. I helped her with the banquets. I mean, she was running it all, but I was there helping a little bit. Like I said, she's like, it's just been, that whole time of my life was in community and helping. Her business was there too. And when she passed, a lot changed for me. Of course, I was just starting my new life with my husband, who, of course, I met him through an event that she was involved with, of course. So if she wasn't involved in all of these things, I would never have met my husband. I would never have my beautiful children, Gabby and Emilio. So once she passed, Gabby was a year old. So it was harder. It was hard, of course, for me. And I miss her every day. Always think about her. I actually went back to Grand to help out when she passed. And I've been there since then. So it's been 30 years. But also that was a gift also because I was able to, since it was family business, I was able to be there for my kids. I was able to be more flexible. So that was a gift, I guess, in one kind of way. But I miss my mom every day, like I said. I'm so happy to see everybody here. I'm really to see people that used to work with her, my family, my friends now. I really appreciate you all coming in. I met some other people here that knew her. I posted something on Facebook, and so many people were just like telling me how much she was an influence in their life, and it's just it's beautiful. I just love it. Thank you so much, and thank you, Michael, for doing this, and thank you, Diane, and thank you, Raices. So.
Thanks very much. You're very touching, definitely. What we want to do now is we want to open it up to anyone who wants to talk a little bit about Ramonita. And since this is the Internacional La Mujer, International Women's Day, by all means, if you feel inspired to talk about your particular journey or how you see women, progressing in our age and fighting some of the forces that are trying to keep them back, by all means, please feel free. Okay? So just raise your hand and I'll bring the mic around.
Hello, everybody. I want to say thank you for having this event because as a young child, I came here in 1976 from Puerto Rico and I had no idea Ramonita was there already. And Domingo, these were my bosses, maybe 10, 15 years later. But it didn't connect now when he mentioned, I was telling my partner here, 5th and Clearfield was my first art class with Johnny. Domingo, you had to have been there, and I don't know why I was 13, so I don't remember. And here, years later, I ended up meeting Ramonita by mistake at Concilio. My cousin was looking for training, and she goes, "You want to come with me? You're not doing anything." And I said, "Okay." And she was like, "What are you going to do with your life?" I said, "Well, art, that's what I went to school for." She says, "There's no money in art." And I was like, okay. And I was looking for work. I ended up working in a factory, spray painting stuff. I wasn't doing anything. So she goes, "Come with me. Let's take a training. Business course." I said, I never typed. And I ended up meeting Ramonita, became my counselor. And she's like, "What do you want to do?" I'm like, "Well, I'm an art student. I don't want to do accounting and business." And she was like, "Okay, well." Instantly, she's like, "I have the print shop, or you can start with graphic design." I still took the courses in accounting, and I remember going to Grand Enterprises, and my first job was graphic design, and I didn't like it. I don't know why, it was different. The computer thing just started, and I never had computers in school. So I said, "Ramonita, I want the graphic design. Can you put me somewhere else?" And she put me with Domingo. Oh Lord. Working in a t-shirt area with all men, you become the cleaning lady if you're the woman. That was me. It was like, clean this, clean that. I said, "Ramonita, they don't let me do not one t-shirt, nothing. I don't like it over there." She said, "Okay, try printing." And she never gave up. Always try to find some place for me. Printing was it. Anita, which, let me tell you something. This family right here has been my family since I was 20 and I'm 56. And every niece, nephew, children, they all have this heart and this love for this community. They all have that humbleness and the help. It's amazing how that's in your blood because all of you guys have that. Kids have it. Look at your kids. I haven't even met them. But this family, I hope that this continues because we don't know the history of people. We go to building, we have no idea who that person is. They look how amazing Ramonita is. The history, I just learned something today. I thought I knew it, but I didn't know she was there in Taller. And printing for me was what caught my eye. Anita was a person that if the machine broke, she gonna find a way to fix it. She just, that kind of person, and I love that because she taught me that. And she's the MacGyver. She knows everything. She doesn't know, she'll figure it out, right? Nati. This family is Maria. It's amazing how you guys are all here, and that job led me to be working at Channel 3 for 33 years this year. In the print shop. Now, I have to tell you, it wasn't easy leaving Graham. Ramonita was not going to let me go, and she did not want to let me go. She's like, "You're leaving? You can't leave." So some people might say, why say this, but I want to say it. She told my other company, you don't want to work with Maria. Maria has a temper, right? And I was like, what? I said, when I first got the interview, I said, listen, I don't want to go to Channel 3. They probably have a big printing company, 3 color machines, 4, whatever. I denied the interview, and it was my father's cousin's husband who was there. He says, just go for the interviews, take a look. If I don't tell you that God prepared me and Grand Enterprises, same machine. Identical, name brand, 2 color, everything that I learned at Grand just transferred over to Channel 3. I was amazed. And of course, I was heartbroken because Grand Enterprises wasn't only my employer, they were also my landlord. She gave me an apartment, and I lived there for like 6 years, right on top of the print shop. When I tell you this, my whole life has been based on Grand Enterprises and everybody that is that family. Christmas parties, pageants. Who can forget the pageants? My sister was part of the pageant. The whole interest, everything they did for, not teenagers, but we were already like 19, 20, 21. Every opportunity they gave you, you can branch from there and grow and go somewhere else. Because they taught you whatever it was. There was no, you can't learn that. You can't, I mean, look at me. They put me everywhere. Because she would not give up. Never said no. If I didn't have my rent money, guess what she said? Give it to me next week. If I didn't have lunch money, anybody in that company that have lunch money, guess what? They pay you for your lunch. She says, they're not going to treat you that way where you're going now. 100% true. 100%. And she made sure I knew that where I was going was nothing like the community that I was in. Okay? And so true. When you work within your own community, it's so different when you step out and you see the differences and you see all type of stuff, right? But this right here, this history stuff, we should never let it go because I have nieces and nephews. They have no clue. They know nothing about the community because they're raised in different. I don't want to say different. I want to say my mom was so Boricua. We're going to do everything was cultural. My mom was a volunteer back in the 70s. And that's how I met Johnny. Johnny helped me get into college, filled out my paperwork. Like, the help kept going. A speed up, grants. Like, every other organization that's here in this community helped me move forward, and my sisters. So it's amazing that it's still here. And I hope that it doesn't go away. I hope that we continue to. I haven't found my footing in the community. Yes, I work where I work at, and there's not that many Latinos there, but it's a challenge because the history there says there's not that many Latinos in journalism, which I don't believe. I haven't been to Temple. I didn't go to school for journalism. From the print shop there, I went to become a video editor, and I was trained within the company. Again, you don't see that many Latinos moving on up. So it's still that way, 33 years. I've seen people that come and go, but not that many Latinos, young people. I don't know, I didn't go for journalism Temple, but I don't see Latinos in journalism. Also, getting in is another problem. It's more who you know. And I want to say it's a shame that I don't know journalism students or people or anyone that I can go ahead and bring them up. So if anybody knows somebody in journalism, they need a tour or maybe a conversation or maybe just to talk about the experience there, let Dale know and Dale has my number. And I'm glad Dale told me about this event. I don't know why I'm clueless when it comes to certain events. And I'm like, I don't see that. Is it on Facebook? Where is it at? So I'm glad she told me about it. And I love you guys. Thank you for everything. Domingo, love you.
You were next to me? No.
Anyone else? I know it's a hard act to follow. That was really good.
We have one right back here.
Okay, very good.
evening, everybody. Hi, Pat. My name is Annabelle Lamboy, and as Dale and the rest of our little crew, when we were growing up, we were always together, and it's true. We were running around and causing problems, and we were always there. And one thing that I could say that Ramonita was always a guiding force. She would talk to the youth. She would make sure she gives them good advice. If you're doing something wrong, she'll straighten you out. And she was just a phenomenal person. I basically grew up with her. I grew up with her. I think she knew me when I was with Jose, my dad's best friend. And we were always constantly together. And there was such an affinity, there was love, there was sharing all the time. And there were times that we didn't want to see each other. We'd fight, cats and dogs, but it was like a family. You know, we were always a family. And it's ironic because we were always together, but we were friends. And I do genealogy, and one day Dale calls me and she goes, "You're on my DNA list." I go, "What?" "It so happens that we are family, cousins, distant cousins." And I said, my dad says, I knew there was some kind of a connection with us. We were always together. We could tolerate each other. So, I mean, the takeaway from Ramonita, she was a wonderful person. Her family, loving persons. I mean, I can't say nothing negative about her. She was wonderful. She was always there for us. Anyway, anything we needed, she was there. In the good and the bad. So, wherever she is, I know she's happy. That's for sure. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Daniel. I didn't have the pleasure to meet Ramonita, but I do meet Ramona, the daughter. And there, let me tell you something. If your mother were here, she will be super proud about you. Not the person that you are, but the person that you became, everything that you went through, everything that you do every day, keeping a business together, set up the new company. And tell your mom can be only proud of you. And you should be proud of yourself. Shut up. Happy Mother's Day. Later.
We still have a little bit of time for a couple more. Anybody else?
Hello, everybody. I'm kind of a stranger in here, but I actually got to meet Ramonita when I came to work for the census. This area was one of my territories, and I chose to come over here because I'm actually from New York City and had moved to Pennsylvania, maybe 9 years ago. But where I live, I don't really have a community. I have a lot of deer and rabbits and birds. And so I felt really good coming in the area. I had met Ramonita because I needed to, pass on the message about the census. And I thought that the census was so important that everybody would, participate, because we need to be counted so we can get the services, and never be undercounted. And so I was asking, well, who do I have to speak to, because we had a table set out. And I was having a great time at the table because I saw my peoples coming by, and I got a chance to meet a lot of people in the community and so forth. And when I asked, if I could speak on the stage, they says, yes, you have to go speak to Ramonita. So I was going around asking her, they know she's over there, no, she's already moved, she's over on the other side now, So I finally caught up to her, and she was a very, very nice person, very cordial. She could be like an aunt to me, right? Una tia. And, but she was so nice to me, let me speak about the census and so forth. And it just, was such a great feeling to be in the community, you know, part of the neighborhood for, even it was just for a couple of days. And I have come back a little bit here and there, and so I couldn't miss today because I thought, you know, that yes, she's such a powerful woman, such an important person in the community to be able to create something and build it up. And now that I've seen the family and so forth and everyone that's involved, the whole community being involved, I think that she really deserves to be honored in many, many ways. And I just wanted to share that with you. I came an hour and a half driving over here on all the stoplights, and I says, I gotta come back just to have this moment. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Adele. I'm glad you make it.
Yeah.
Okay, who else? Okay.
Hi everyone, my name's Evelinda and I'm Ramona's sister. It's very strange to call you Ramona. I did not have the blessing of having Ramonita as my blood mother, but she was a very big mother influence in my life. I knew her from the time that I was about 4 to 9 years old, which was a very happy time in my life. I will say, you know, coming into this evening, I did not plan to speak. It felt like a lot of pressure to really sum up someone's life in a few words. And it really got me thinking about what a legacy is, right? And who gets to tell your legacy. When someone dies, a lot of people, want to latch on to different parts of it, right? To own a part of it. But nobody owns Ramonita. And no one owned her in life, and no one can own her in death. She was her own person. And really just carved a path for herself and for the people around her. It's interesting, I think about what she would have done if she was still here and the legacy that she would have had. And it really saddens me that other people were not able to benefit from knowing her, especially, as things continue to get harder for our community and a lot of communities out there. I really wish Gabby, her granddaughter, would have gotten to know her, and Amelia, and my husband. But I did, want to talk just briefly in the time that I knew her in the adolescence, what she taught me, and I just wanted to write down a few things here. Number one, an example of what a strong, hardworking woman can do and can accomplish in a man's world. I just got off of a red-eye flight from LA because I was working in LA. I work for a digital fitness studio. I'm the director of production, and so I hop between LA and New York sometimes to work in the studio. And that is kind of like one of the prime examples of how I emulate her. I literally had to do that, and then I got on the flight, drove here, working in the car, on my hotspot to make family and work. Essentially, without that example, I would not be here where I'm at. I've had the pleasure of working in television production, film production, for L'Oreal and cosmetics, doing what I love, which is creating stories and narratives and production. And Ramonita really instilled in me, like she did in Domingo, this idea of doing what you want. She had a way of making people feel special and thinking that you deserved what you wanted. Even as a child, I felt that. When I would break something, because I was still am, I get called bruta a lot. So even when I would break something, most instincts of adults is to say, you broke that, no, that's bad, yell at you, maybe, put you in time out nowadays. And she never did that, never flinched. You know, it would just, you know, she would like clean it up, and then we would go about enjoying our time. You know, also I remember one New Year's Eve, you know, just to kind of entertain me, we made up this like made-up person, like out of pillows and clothes to like put in the bed, so that it would look like somebody was in bed when we were out at like the family New Year's Eve party. And we spent about like an hour doing that, putting the person together, giving it a head, putting the clothes, putting it under the blankets, and then leaving the lights on in different rooms before we left. So even as like such a busy woman, she still took the time to have those personal interactions with everyone. The third thing that I wanted to say was she had a really strong sense of right and wrong, which I think if anyone knew her would understand. And I bring that into everything that I do. And that's not something I just learned from Ramonita, that's something that I learned from my father as well. And I think it's really important to have that sense of right and wrong, especially when you're in a position of power, because it comes into your hiring practices, how you pay people, you know, and how you treat people, which is something that she instilled in me. And the last thing that I wanted to say is that, as everyone knows, Ramonita had a heart of gold, and she really knew how to forgive. Not just forget, but forgive. And that is one of the biggest things that I will take away from her, because had she not had that sense of forgiveness, my sister and I would not have a relationship right now. But because she forgave, that allowed us to be sisters. And that allows me to be an influence on Gabby and Emilio and be a part of their lives. And she did that with everything that she did. And nowadays, it's more important than ever that we learn how to forgive each other so that we can have conversations, especially in the political climate right now. So if everyone can take a little bit of that into everything they do every day, we could actually accomplish a lot of things together. Thank you.
We're going to show a short video that the family shared with me regarding, I think it was like the essence of Ramonita romance. Really, it lasts about 4 minutes. I just want to see if there's one more person who wants to talk about her before I put on the video.
Good evening, everyone. Buenas noches. My name is Joana Otero Cruz, and I did not have the privilege to know Ramonita, but I have had the privilege to work with our family members, her husband, who was always presente, when and her daughter most recently, when I had the privilege of serving as the executive director of Concilio for many years. And I can tell you that there was a big legacy that she left behind there. When I think back about the history and just learning a little bit more tonight, I can't even begin to fathom what she may have encountered in 1970, when women were still properties of their husband, right? 1970, it wasn't that long. So I'm just in awe, and I want to thank the family for sharing Ramonita and her ongoing legacy. But I think she is still present today, for sure, because her vision to really manifest the organization that still exists today, that is so multifaceted, and still serving our community, and still standing with a strong infrastructure, is a legacy in its own. And I'm talking about Concilio. I just learned tonight about Taller Puertorriqueño. And out of that Concilio, we know that many other great organizations that are still serving this community were birthed, right? Because for years, Concilio served as the incubator for many great organizations like the Congresos of the World and many others as well. So again, to Deo, Ramonita, and it's great to see you also, Domingo and Mr. Rivera. Just thank you for sharing that piece of her. And I know Jose oftentimes talked to me as he also pulls my ear as the EG, as Concilio many times about the legacy of your dear wife. So thank you so much for continuing to serve our community. And Domingo and Felix over there, I know also many times. Oh, I didn't even see you here. Many late calls. He would take my calls when I had those late orders coming in from Concilio and I had no idea what was going on with the parade. And he was so gracious and patient with me. But if it was a piece of that, I can only imagine how gracious she must have been, because it definitely is something that it resonates throughout the whole family. And so just thank you for doing that. And I wish that we had more people here, because that is so important when we're talking about so many racial injustices still going on today, when we as women on this day are fighting still, because it boggles my mind that we are still fighting for things like, reintroducing VAWA, violence against women, and all these other things, reproductive health and everything, is still it's still an issue today. And so I hope that tonight we take from us the need to have normalize those conversations in our kitchen table to our young children, and to others, to know that I stand here today, and I know this because of people like Ramonita, who dared to stand tall and fight for our rights, and to be able to establish great institutions that represent and advocate for our community, our Latino community. So again, thank you to the family.
I've been told that there's a car out in the parking lot, license plate JVM7950, Pennsylvania license plate. Your lights are blinking. Somebody else want to say something? Okay, all right. Patricia, I'm sorry I'm not going to be able to get to everybody, just because I want to move things along, but...
Good evening. I was lucky enough to marry into this family, and actually met this family through Taylor too. I was doing a project. You want to say hi? So I was doing a project. I was an anthropology student, and I was working at the art museum and did a project on Puerto Rican community in Philadelphia. I didn't know anything, but I wanted to know stuff. I'm Irish background myself, and there was an Irish group, and I said, I know about that already. And so I just was very curious, had to look around, and I found this jewel, and I thought, that's a good place to make contacts and figure out what's going on. And I did. And I remember, just to tell you, the first time I was at the family home and I saw Ramona, I actually thought she might be a nun. Because she was dressed like she was coming from work, but she was dressed very formally, and she was quiet, efficient. She just reminded me, I went to lots of Catholic schools, and she just, in her determined, like just the way she handled herself. But little did I know, that was just a work thing, and she just impressed me in this following way. I was with a friend of mine today who went to school with her in high school. And she said, I always like to tell the story that there was all this buzz when she came to Hallahan, because she was so beautiful. She just was a beautiful teenager, a young woman, and she was just created a buzz. I guess there were probably too many Latina students at that time either. So she was somewhat exotic. But she told me people used to go down the halls and just peek in the windows so they could get a look at her. Because she just kind of caused a sensation. So that was pretty interesting. After she died, I kind of realized that it was like I had a husband and a wife from that family. And we talked every day. It was just like an automatic thing. And later I thought, how many people did she do that with? how many people did you call or that like you felt like you were in contact? So she was the kind of person that would call you and say, can you have Easter? And there were many traditions in the family. Nati always had Noche Buena, which was always fabulous, and they would plan things. It was a lot of fun. And there was music, and it was just a very nice thing. When I first met them, Domingo was made T-shirts that said "Familia Numero Uno," and I was that was pretty impressive. At first, I thought it was a little corny, but then I saw it was really. But then I saw it was for real. It was really like, and that was really interesting. Which is different, very different to come from my family. We're pretty conservative, and I mean, you know what Irish step dancing looks like. You have your hands like this, and you just move your legs. So it was pretty interesting to move into a Latina family. And then, like, you come in, everybody would kiss you, and everybody would be in line getting kisses, and then we'd come along, and they would go like this sometimes. Because it was probably my body language, too. I was like, but I learned. And I can see how it made me very different than my family now, still. I just feel like I'm more out there. So, when she died, it left a hole. But it made us step up to a certain extent. It took a while, though. I would say it took a while. And it's still present. So this has been really great for us to think back and see, like, step back and see what effect did she have on the family, or in a very personal way, like, and how inspired she made us. That, and we talked a lot about, like, how do you get a person like that? They're among us. Everybody has it, but some people have the gift of putting people together and making connections. And that's what I think with her the most, that some people that put connections together and made me feel part of it. So thank you.
I'm going to play the video right now of her addressing the graduates of an institute, I think it was part of Concilio, called the Institute for Science and Business Education, and that the family shared. It runs about 4 minutes or so.
Okay, my name is Carmen Lamboy. I am the wife of Candelario Lamboy, and he was very instrumental with Ramona to do many beautiful things in his community. He sent his greetings to the family. He's not able to be here. He's not feeling well, but I remember Ramonita, and someone mentioned pageants, and that was my area. I was in the pageants, and like I say, I had 6, well, they're not kids anymore, but I had 6 children, and my husband was always involved, in the community, just like Ramona was. And so I said, if you can stop them, join them. So I joined Concilio on the festival and everything, the pageants, but I got tired, but they kept going. So that's what drove them, because they wanted to do things for their community, and they worked so hard for it to the end, okay? So Ramonita did it to the end, okay? And like I said, I thank the family and for doing this for Ramona. And thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Carmen. As we mentioned before, this is part of a series that we're doing, and there are other people we're going to be honoring this year along the same series. On On June 14th, we're going to honor the Venezuelan muralist Jose Ali Paz, who actually designed our logo and participated in painting a whole number of different murals, and he has actually proteges like Michelle Ortiz who have continued that work. On September 8th, shortly before the Feria del Barrio, on September 10th, we're going to honor here as well Jesse Bermudez, the founder of AMLA, who left us last year. And on November 15th, we will honor Elba Dormois. A lot of people know her as Candy, and Panamanian dancer, but also part with her late husband, Ted, of an orchestra they called Orquesta Panama. So all these people, Ramonita included, had this enormous impact on the community. So if you're interested in getting information about it, you can sign up on our sign-up sheet out in the lobby. We're going to be serving food very soon. So I think that, let's see, somebody can see the screen better than I can. Is the file ready to be downloaded?
No, the internet went out. Can you open the video back up so you have the Google Drive?
And again, last but not least, she's the president of the Concilio. She's an inspiration and a role model for all of us. Allow me to introduce to you Ms. Ramonita Rivera.
On behalf of the Board of Directors of Concilio, we congratulate you and wish you the best in the future. 6 years ago, Concilio, at the request of Mr. Lamboy, accepted to sponsor the Institute for Science and Business Education because he knew the potential and the good that this institute would do for our communities. Since then, hundreds of students have graduated and many are working in their respective fields. Others are just working and others, for whichever reason, are looking for jobs. But the intention of the Institute is to open your knowledge and make you realize that you're number one and must do the utmost to succeed. Do not stop here. Do not get discouraged. Ask for help and advice and start controlling your future. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge some members of the Board of Concilio. Those are Nancy Ramos, Maria Gonzalez, Miriam Rodriguez, who is my successor, and she's the president of the unit A40. I know that they want to confuse me, but for 10 years I was the president of Miriam Rodriguez, now is my successor. Delia Rosa, Maria Quiñones, and Evario Lamboy. Once again, I would like to congratulate you on your accomplishments, and it was a joy for me working with you in the preparation of this event. I really enjoyed it. Thanks to Jackie Lamboy that kept the group together, and to the faculty, staff, and directors of the Institute, keep up the good work. And let us not pay attention to those that will try to destroy the dream of a better future for our Haiti community. We shall overcome. God bless you and bless you.
Yeah, I feel with this message that Ramonita is speaking to our generation right now. I mean, what she said then is very much appropriate now, maybe even more so. So, what we have now is we have food that's being served, Peruvian food, which is great, and we're going to have the group Raíces Boricuas and the Trovador Nieves Lopez with his décimas, dedicado a la mujer. Okay, so those of you who've heard them, enjoy them. So Johnny Aira Cruz and Nieves Lopez, Gallo Pinto, de Orocovis.
con ustedes. Quisiera en este momento hacer reconocimiento a una notable mujer, la que con mucho querer trabajó con mucho esmero. Por eso con amor, con alegría, brindar en esta poesía como río rodeo. Hay brindar así es que un vecino como río rodeo. Canto por la Margarita, Ramonita de tomar, con muchísimo el cariño. Ay, cantando la Ramonita, con muchísimo el cariño. Verso que aquí convertimos, lleno de amor y alegría. Ramonita, yo diría, con muchísimo empeño, que es así por los sueños de arte y la cultura, desde el llano hasta la altura, del taller puertorriqueño, desde el llano hasta la altura, hay del taller puertorriqueño. Ay, Ramona junto a tu hermano, soy lamento de domingo. Ay, Ramona junto a tu hermano, estoy hablando de domingo. Un boricua que distingo, porque su pueblo boricano. Quisiera darle la mano, lo muchísimo el empeño, porque a lo veo su empeño de una forma noble y pura, porque es de la cultura, el taller puertorriqueño, por defender la cultura, hay del taller puertorriqueño. Dicen que nació en Mamunao, dicen que nació en Mamunao, hablando de Ramonita, una humilde jibarita, hija de un jibaro bravo. Al decirlo yo no acabo, por eso me desdisuelto.
coming today. It was a really great event. I'm so happy that everybody got to experience different parts of my mother. It was, I even got to hear some things I didn't know about. It was wonderful. And I'm so excited to continue helping in the community and helping other people and sharing what she did for everyone and sharing with everybody. I forgot to mention in the video when I was talking that I'm wearing her earrings and her ring. So, no, I always, at special events, I have my earrings, her earrings, and her ring with me. So, just thank you again. Thank you for doing the video.